The Zamfara state government has begun biometric data capturing for students who will sit for the 2026 Senior Secondary School Certificate Examinations under its sponsorship program. The state says it will spend more than 1.3 billion naira to cover examination fees for over 20,000 students across the state. Theophilus Darufai reports.
The Zamfara state government says the introduction of biometric data capturing for final year students in public secondary schools is aimed at creating a reliable and technology-driven education database. Authorities say the initiative will also help tackle fraudulent practices, including cases where some school administrators allegedly smuggle students from private schools to benefit from the state's examination sponsorship.
Even WAEC and NECO have changed the system of examination from the paper biro system of examination writing to these computer-based tests. Therefore, there is need for Zamfara State to key into this new innovation to ensure that we are not left behind in this system. Another reason why we have to carry out this is that we found out that there are some lapses in registration of our students, where you find external candidates are brought in to write examinations as government-sponsored candidates. But in order to ensure that we capture those who are genuinely students and who are sponsored by the government are the ones that have been captured, and they are the ones that government will continue to sponsor.
Not only are we capturing the intending candidates for this year's examinations, we are also capturing students from JSS1, JSS2, JSS3, SS1, and SS2. And the reason we are doing this is because we don't want to be repeating the same process every year.
Officials say more than 20,000 students will benefit from the state government sponsorship for the 2026 WAEC and NECO examinations.
The state government will pay is about 750 billion naira for all the government-sponsored candidates for this year. And for NECO, it's about 568 million or so, around that figure, that when you put it together, it's going to be about 1.3 billion naira for the year 2026 for both WAEC and NECO for government-sponsored candidates in Zamfara State.
Many states has gone ahead on this digital registration of students. And for the first time ever in Zamfara State, now we are joining the trend. Now we are going to be part of the global system. It will show transparency and accountability of the government.
The government has also called on school administrators, parents and other stakeholders to support the initiative as part of efforts to strengthen transparency and improve education development in Zamfara State. Theophilus Darufai, TVC News Gusau.
And Theophilus Darufai joins me now to discuss this development. Theophilus, the Zamfara state government says this biometric data capturing is aimed at building a reliable database for students. How exactly will this system work, and what information exactly is being captured from the students?
Yeah, the biometric data is not only for SS3 students, as I've said, it is for all students from JS1 to SS2. So the information usually they get is the name of the student, his class, and other details. And this is also to avoid doing the same thing almost every year.
Okay.
So it is basically the students, the school name, and everything.
Okay. So authorities have also said that the move is partly to address alleged abuses in the examination sponsorship program. What kind of irregularities has the government identified in the past that made this measure necessary?
Zamfara State happens to be one of the northern states that usually takes off the payment for examination fee for senior secondary school students. And over the years, the state has been paying. Only recently, sometimes last year in 2025, the state government discovered some fraudulent acts by some school principals, where students from private schools were brought in to register under the state government sponsorship, which hitherto this has not been the case. But then the government insisted that this must be stopped, and that's why this initiative was brought up by the Ministry of Education in collaboration with Zamfara State Information and Technology Development Agency to bring an end to the fraudulent acts by some school administrators. Usually, a large number of the students writing their examinations under the state government sponsorship are usually from the private schools, not the government or public schools as the plans is right from day one.
Okay, Theophilus Darufai, thank you for coming on the show today. Olamide, let's talk about the rent story, the rent situation, and I can see the passion of our correspondent, Nina Gabriel. She's saying that residents are saying that the rent is becoming unusually high and honestly a bit unaffordable. And landlords, they are saying that the cost of building materials are going high and the cost of maintenance of those buildings also are now high. I think that the government should step in. Do you also share my sentiment?
Okay, so before the government will step into this situation, I think it's not necessarily about, the rising rent, but the fact that, salaries have not also doubled while the rents are also doubling. So we see that the rent is increasing faster than the income of, the average resident. And I also think that more attention is, focused on the capital. When you go to most states, everyone wants to stay in the capital.
Well,
when you explore other areas,
our
go ahead.
correspondent said that it's in all areas in Abia State. I deliberately asked that question.
Right. But when you're comparing the price, Mwaya, for example, when you're comparing the prices in areas that are not as developed as the capital, then you understand that to an extent, perhaps they're able to afford that place. But when we're talking about, most states, it's also happening here in Lagos State. Yes, most persons want to stay in the major areas where, they feel has more opportunities and all of that. Then you also bring in the issues of the landlords. She also mentioned that some of the landlords, have old houses. So what's the reason why you are increasing, the price of tenancy? It brings up the issue of, the tenancy law and protection. That's a fine place to leave it for now. And that's it on TVC News at 1. For more updates on the stories of monitoring, you can visit our website on www.tvcnews.tv. You can also follow us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and on X at TVC News. We also have updates for you on WhatsApp and Telegram at TVC News Nigeria, and YouTube, we are live at TVC News Nigeria. Up next is Business in Nigeria. We'll be back at 3 for the world now. I'm Olamide Adeyemi. Thanks for watching.